pushing up that boulder up the hill, but as much as you push, you slip, and you push, and you slip, and you push. We were never going to be able to get to that pinnacle. And finally, last week, we were able to get to that pinnacle, and that boulder didn't come down.
US President Joe Biden recently announced the recognition by the US government of the Armenian Genocide, an event which took place more than 100 years ago in what was then the Ottoman Empire and which is today Turkey. What are the implications of this announcement? Joining me to discuss this is Armen Hovannisian, who is a member of the Armenian diaspora based in Los Angeles. He is a lawyer who has been very active in the campaign for the recognition of the genocide. This is an extract from a longer conversation on my podcast, Solutions with David Ansara. We've linked to the full conversation below. If you like this analysis, please give this video a like and also share it on your various social media platforms. Enjoy.
I'm part of the Armenian Bar Association. The Armenian Bar Association was established in 1989 by my brother, Rafi Hovannisian, who was the first foreign minister of the Republic of Armenia after Armenia achieved its independence in 1991. 2 years before he went to Armenia to assume that post, he started the Bar Association, and we've been committed to restorative justice for the Armenian people, whether that be as a result of the 1915 genocide or the more recent events in Artsakh and where Azerbaijan tried to continue and did continue the genocidal policies of its predecessor, its Turkic brothers, Turkey. And in this most recent clash, Turkey came to, in the same way that America came to the aid and succor of the Armenian orphans in the early 1900s, it was the Republic of Turkey that 6 months ago came to the aid and assistance of Azerbaijan during that neo-genocidal policies against Artsakh, where the Armenian indigenous population there that had been living there for many years. I'm talking about this happening in the year 2020, in the months of October and November, where tens of thousands of Armenians, in the same way that their great-grandparents were uprooted from their indigenous lands, that ugly head of that monster resurrected itself, and with the same rhetoric, with the same vituperative antagonism, the few thousand Armenians, 150,000 Armenians who live in the Republic of Artsakh were put in the way of the greatest and the most grave peril. The reason why the Armenian genocide was not embraced by recent American administrations, David, was, as I mentioned real briefly.
Enjoying this analysis? Click here to sign up for our 30-day free trial for more content from the CIA.
Turkey is viewed in certain circles as an integral part of NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, as a bulwark at the time, especially against the Warsaw Pact, which was led by Russia and the Eastern Bloc. We've seen over time that the real value of Turkey, or the once upon a time value of Turkey in NATO, no longer holds water. It does not continue to supply strategic support for the United States, but they kept on holding that very heavy sledgehammer over the heads of the executive branch, the legislative branch, and even to a certain extent, the judicial branch in the United States of America. They actually came out and they said, and they extorted us with fear, the Americans with fear and with anxiety and with paranoia, that if you American government leaders dare acknowledge the Armenian genocide, then you will have something coming to you that you're not going to really enjoy. And what that means, they threatened, for example, to not allow the Americans to continue operating the Incirlik Air Force Base, which is, ironically, it's in eastern Turkey now, but it's on Armenian-owned land. When I say Armenian-owned land, Armenians used to own that before the Turks misappropriated it, and now are, you know, F-16s, F-35s. They're in Turkey. When I say our, the Americans. The reason why I think that the bloom is off the rose of Turkey's importance to the United States is because even under the Trump administration and continuing now, Turkey's been sanctioned. Turkey has been sanctioned because it's really duplicitous to its core and its leadership. On the one hand, they're supposed to be integral members of NATO and to support NATO's best interests. But next thing you know, they are buying heavy machinery, military machinery from the Russians. And that heavy machinery, called the S-400, is really designed to take down American F-35s and F-30 series planes. So they're, on the one hand, they're supposedly a bulwark in NATO. On the other hand, against the Russian bloc, let's say. And on the other hand, they're actually peddling their wares, or Russia's peddling its wares to Turkey, and Turkey is nothing more than a hungry customer to buy that machinery that can be used against America's interests. So that did not go unnoticed by the Trump administration and by the Biden administration. And Turkey was sanctioned by President Trump, of all things. You know, President Trump, with his outsized ego and personality, founded a confrère with President Erdogan of Turkey. But Turkey really crossed the line, and America instituted a not often implemented statute. It's countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act, CATSA it's called. And America sanctioned Turkey. How did they sanction Turkey? They said that those American F-35 fighter jets that Turkey's helping with the parts supply and manufacture, you're out of this. Because, and the reason why is because what they bought from Russia can actually be used to shoot down those F-35s. Point being, David, is that Turkey is no longer the darling and shouldn't be the darling of NATO, the darling of the West. They overstate their effectiveness and their import and their significance to American and Western interests. And let me just conclude this part by saying that the genocide, as much as it was a relief, a true relief for Armenians who've been carrying, it's like Sisyphus, it's pushing up that boulder up the hill, but as much as you push, you slip, and you push, and you slip, and you push. We were never going to be able to get to that pinnacle. And finally, last week, we were able to get to that pinnacle, and that that boulder didn't come down and rest itself, not only on our shoulders, but our conscience. There has been a real relief. There's been a renaissance of sorts, a catharsis, if there's no better term, that there is a cleansing, I think, of the Armenian spirit, which was occluded, which was weighed down by this haunting image of an America, of a leader of democracy, again, succumbing to the pressures of the violator state, all for the purposes of political expediency. Well, political expediency is alive and well. It's alive and well, unfortunately, even after the April 24th declaration by President Biden, acknowledging the genocide as a genocide, the first time that an American president has squarely said what happened to the Armenians was a genocide. In the past, Ronald Reagan, in the context of a resolution about the Jewish Holocaust, said the Jewish Holocaust, like the Armenian genocide that preceded it and the Cambodian genocide that succeeded it. So it was in a relativized sense, but never has a president taken the genocide bull by the horns and controlled that bull and said that we will take the mantle of moral authority. Unfortunately, realism, let's call it, or just practicalities, pragmatism, reared its head just a couple days after that recognition by President Biden. Because I mentioned this conflict, this war between Azerbaijan and Artsakh, which has been raging off and on for 30 years. There was a 30-year peace time, but in the early 1990s, Azerbaijan attacked Artsakh, and after 2 or 3 years of war, 1994, there was a ceasefire. But in 1992, the American Congress passed a legislation called the Freedom Support Act. The Freedom Support Act says that the American government will not earmark any funds for military purposes to Azerbaijan as long as their imperialistic, aggressive policies against the people of Artsakh, also known as Nagorno-Karabakh, continue. Now, even though that, and so for a few years, those funds were not earmarked by the United States to Azerbaijan, but very soon they in the fine print, there was a waiver provision. The waiver provision says that if we see that Azerbaijan may not be using those military earmarked funds against the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, then we'll go ahead and do it. Every single year since they put that fine print at the bottom of that legislative contract, American presidents have found a way to say that Azerbaijan, basically another genocide perpetrator state, we're still going to send you that money. Over the last 5 years, the American government has squirreled away and sent over to Azerbaijan $125 million that goes directly into their military industrial complex. And there's no saying that those materiel were not used against the Armenians in this last devastating war. And to close the circle on that, our Secretary of State, Blinken, 3 days after our president's acknowledgement and recognition of the Armenian genocide, sign that waiver so that American monies can go to Azerbaijan in the supposed fight against terror, so that American, airplanes can go there and then go to Afghanistan, let's say. So what you have there a moralistic victory, and but then the practicalities and the pragmatic approach to interstate affairs, unfortunately, seems to have again reasserted itself a little too soon to our liking.
Yeah, when it comes to international relations, I think it's good to remember the words of Charles de Gaulle, who said that countries don't have friends, they have interests. I certainly think throughout the Cold War and up to today, as you've described, America has had a keen sense of its own interests, and it's chosen its international partners very carefully. So it's good to see that shifting. But Armen, I mean, you mentioned Azerbaijan, you've obviously spoken about Turkey, but what about the influence of Russia? How do you see that playing into this geopolitical game that we're seeing unfold at the moment?
Both the Russians and the Turks are master diplomats.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this discussion, you might want to tune in for the full conversation with Armen on my podcast, Solutions with David Ansara. We've put links to that conversation here. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel. And until next time, take care.